Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's, well, a simple but really powerful idea. It's all about how to cut through the absolute noise of modern life. It's a framework for getting your focus back, and it's called the 16-hour secret. All right, let's just start with a quick question for you. Does your brain ever feel like it's just always on? You know that feeling. Like you can't switch it off, you're just constantly swimming in this sea of digital noise, notifications pinging, and a to-do list that feels a mile long. It just creates so much mental clutter, right? So if you just nodded your head, said yes, listen, you are definitely not alone. I mean, that's practically the definition of modern life, isn't it? But here's the cool part. It turns out there's this ancient concept, this kind of forgotten way of structuring our day that might just hold the key to finding that clarity we're all looking for in the middle of all this chaos. Okay, so before we jump into the solution, let's take a second and really define the problem here. What exactly is this modern mental fog that so many of us are walking around in every single day? I mean, just think about your own day for a second. Your phone is buzzing nonstop with notifications. Your workday, it's all about jumping from emails to meetings to trying to do creative work. That's context switching, and it's exhausting. You've probably made hundreds of tiny decisions before you even have lunch, and that leads to decision fatigue. And you know, the end result of all that? It's not productivity. It's just this persistent, totally draining mental fog. So, what's the antidote? How do we fight back against this modern condition? Well, the answer is pretty fascinating and honestly surprisingly simple. It's an idea that's rooted in some really timeless wisdom. And here's the core philosophy, really captured in this one quote. The secret, it is not about working more. It's about structuring your waking hours with intention. It's this huge shift, right? Moving away from just focusing on effort and instead focusing on purpose. Okay, so here it is, the core idea, the 16-hour secret. Now, instead of looking at your 16 or so waking hours as this, this big open field where distractions can just run wild, you start to treat it more like a well-designed building. Every single block of time has its own clear, distinct purpose. Now, I know what you might be thinking. That sounds great in theory, but how does this possibly work in our crazy, hectic modern lives? How do you actually apply this rule? Okay, let's break it down. It really all starts with a mental shift. I want you to think of your 16 waking hours as a canvas. And right now, for a lot of us, it feels like everyone else is painting on it, right? Your boss, social media, the news, they're all adding their own strokes. This whole framework is about you reclaiming that canvas for yourself. And the structure itself is surprisingly simple. You just break your day into 3 distinct blocks. So first up, the deep focus block. This is where you protect your best energy for your most important, your most mentally demanding work. No interruptions. This is where you make real progress. Then you've got the connection and admin block. This is where you batch all those shallow tasks together, the emails, the calls, the quick meetings. By grouping them, you stop them from constantly derailing your focus all day long. And finally, and this one is so crucial, you have the wind down and reflection block. This creates a buffer zone free from screens, free from work, that lets your brain actually rest and process the day. Okay, this all sounds super organized, but what's the actual payoff? I mean, what really happens when you start to adopt this kind of structure for your day? Well, the result is it's a fundamental shift in how you operate. You literally move from being reactive, constantly putting out fires, to being intentional. You go from being distracted to being focused. And maybe most importantly, you stop feeling so constantly drained and you actually start feeling energized by the progress you're making. And the tangible results here are so powerful. We're talking about a deeper, more creative focus. Because you're not so overwhelmed all the time, your anxiety can actually drop. With a clearer mind, your decisions get sharper, more effective. And maybe the best part of all, you create a distinct psychological end to your workday. And wow, that's something so many of us have completely lost, right? So the big question, how do we make this actually stick? Look, this isn't about throwing away your smartphone and going to live like a monk. Not at all. It's about taking this timeless wisdom and cleverly adapting it for our modern lives. And you've got to remember, this whole principle is a flexible framework. It's not a rigid set of rules you have to follow perfectly. Maybe your deep focus block is 2 hours one day. Maybe it's 4 the next. Your wind down could be reading a book, or it might be just going for a walk. The real goal here is to use this structure as an adaptable strategy, something you can use to really thrive in this super demanding digital age. So we'll leave you with this one final thought to chew on. If you were truly in command of your 16 waking hours, I mean, completely free from the constant pull of distraction and that mental fog, what would you really accomplish? What could you create?